Hi everyone, this is going to be my very first intermission video in which I believe will be featured in future MiscatSquad Let's Play videos. And without further ado, I guess I'm going to get started. I'm going to give a few reasons why I love Spider-Man. So first of all, he's so relatable. The reason why he's so relatable is because he is actually one of the first superhero that changed comic book superheroes forever. Because at first we loved reading about like Superman and all those heroes who didn't have any problems and stuff. And Stan Lee and Steve Ditko decided to give a change to that, and they started the Spider-Man story, and I believe one of their big bosses was like, "What are you doing? No one wants to read this." It became so successful that later on, soon after that, he was like, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Like seeing the problems made us feel relatable and always want to come back and see what new adventures awaited Spider-Man to see, what it was in store for his duality lives, and it was very interesting to always see. And that's also what I really love about him. And it's really awesome because I feel like lots of people I know online who have usernames and real names have duality like that. They have a job on social media, but they also have a personal life. Like the social media is the Spider-Man life, the real personal life is like Peter Parker. It's so like relatable, and that's kind of how I've joined these communities, because we love Spider-Man because of how relatable he is. Second point is, I think he was the first hero I discovered in terms of like, I believe I saw one of the films while my parents were watching or something like that. I started buying my own comics to read. My folks got me some DVDs to watch, and lots, and I mean lots of toys to play with. And I just loved when I was a kid, if we would go like shopping or stuff, I would just sit down, play with my toys, and create scenarios and stuff, and I would just imagine them being so crazy and action-packed in my head, even though I was just moving my little figure absolutely everywhere. And while we would walk, I would just like move and as if he was swinging. It was just, it's brilliant to see how much of an imagination I had. I still do have an incredible imagination, at least I think so. But to see how much I enjoyed doing that as a kid is really, really awesome. And he was my first superhero. So sometimes the first things you experience are the best ones, you know? Next point is actually the movies. Because, of course, the very first movie I saw was Spider-Man 1, the very first one released in 2002, and I watched as the series went. I watched Spider-Man 1, then 2, then 3, then I watched the Amazing Spider-Man series, and then I watched Spider-Man Homecoming, and Spider-Man Homecoming is, in my opinion, the definitive Spider-Man movie, at least live action, because it was so different than the other ones, and it was very perfect, and I'll explain why I love Spider-Man Homecoming. For once, the eyes were expressive. Of course, they were mechanic because the suit was made by Tony Stark, but still, it made his expression so much better. The Sam Raimi suit for the first trilogy was okay, but you know, it was too serious sometimes. Sometimes it worked, but when he would say jokes and stuff, it was kind of out of character. The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 were okay. I like that in the separate movies, his eyes had different expressions, but again, it wasn't that expressive for them. In Spider-Man Homecoming, it might have taken a lot of time to edit, but almost each second of Spidey like moving his lenses made it very alive in terms of his personality. Second thing, in the other movies, the voice was so recognizable because of the actors. In Spider-Man Homecoming, his voice was a bit muffled, so for once, I really felt like all these factors, I really felt like Peter Parker and Spider-Man were separate people. You, the audience, 100% knows his identity, but I really felt like these were two separate people. For Spider-Man trilogy and The Amazing Spider-Man, I always knew they were the same person, but to understand that duality is really, really amazing. I also loved how much they added to show much more like life to the city and Spider-Man himself. Like, he makes lots more choices as Spider-Man and Peter in terms of his personal life with his friends, his crush, and like as Spider-Man with Tony Stark and villains. And I love how he had to like swing through the suburbs, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Like, there weren't big places to swing, so we would have to sprint, jump, parkour, web zip, and it shows how massive New York is besides big buildings. I also love that there was no, I know this might seem weird, but no kiss scene I mean, we already saw it in the other movies, like almost every single one. So it was nice to see that. I mean, he's young, obviously, but still, it shows that. And I loved that we were really sure he was gonna have finish his crush with Liz at the end. Nope, he didn't. She had to move away, and they never really were close anymore. And at that start, I said it to my head, yep, now Peter knows how many sacrifices you're gonna have to make with this responsibility. And it really brings out that great power, great responsibility. And another thing, even though the stakes aren't that high, like instead of huge Avengers stuff, it's just a guy who's selling weapons and doing stuff. It's really, really low, but for Spider-Man, it could get big, and he wants to do something about it. Great power, great responsibility. He knows that even the smallest things, he needs to try and take care of it. And if Mr. Stark or the Avengers like stop him or anything, he knows if he couldn't do it, and then something bad happens, he'll feel guilty. He could have done something, but he didn't. And that's what I really, really love and appreciate of how like low the stakes are, but it really feels as a 15-year-old for Peter how big they are. And the last point, I know that this might be a huge movie mistake, but when he loses the Stark suit, and then he needs to use his homemade suit in the finale, it really shows how much, like, it was true. He was, at the beginning, without the suit, he was nothing in his opinion. And here, he had to prove that he was as good as the suit without it. He had to be more than the suit without it. And it really proved how much stronger, smarter, quicker he had to get without the suit. And seeing him improvise so much, and seeing him how, like, scared he was, and using that fear to, like, amplify like almost everything for him to survive on a moving plane, which that set piece was amazing in my opinion. It really showed that he needs to be Spider-Man, not Spider's suit almost, because it's really true, the suit was almost doing everything for him. He had to prove that with those powers he needs to show the responsibility behind it, that he can take care of things without the suit and only with his powers, which really, really brought out a lot. And by the end of the movie, I know he got the suit back, but I'm sure that he learned his lesson and he doesn't use lots of gadgets with it, which is really, really cool, in my opinion. So guys, I believe that's a few tips I said about Spider-Man. I really hope this was cool, and I really hope this gets involved with MiscatSquad, sorry, I probably didn't pronounce that right. I really hope it gets included in any future MiscatSquad videos. I think the next video I'll probably do is some quick tips and tricks in Spider-Man. Let me know in the comments if you want that to happen, or any other little intermissions that you want in MiscatSquad videos and for me to upload in general. So thank you so much for watching. Let's get back to the playthrough, of course. Peace out, guys. See you next time.